All right, the next segment, I'm actually really excited about this stuff. The next segment on Help! I'm on peptides. It's not technically steroids here, but this is something that I don't know if I've ever been more excited to try a compound. And that's saying something because I've put a lot of stuff in my body.
Kid loves compounds.
The kid loves... Put that on a t-shirt. The kid loves compounds. And it's true, you know? It's very true. So this compound that I'm talking about today... Oh, and also it's a double entendre for compound lifts, right?
Look at that.
Wait, hey, buddy.
Oh
you know?
God.
So the picture is just me, like, doing an overhead press with a needle in my ass. They're both compounds, guys. Get it? The back of the shirt is an explanation of the joke. Mm-hmm. So this stuff is called cerebrolysin, and this was first brought to my attention by the extremely intelligent Leo Rex of Leo and Longevity. Again, one of the best channels out there for kind of like my show. I'd say it's rooted in fitness. It's rooted in certain things like bodybuilding or gaining muscle, but it's a lot of branch offs from there. And Leo's is, in a similar sense, you might get there because, he's talking about an anabolic compound that I'm interested in, but then you'll go down the rabbit hole of his channel and, be looking at his penis enlargement videos. Who knows? I don't know what you might be interested in looking at. I'm just taking a guess, okay? You little dick motherfucker. No. Yeah, but seriously, his videos on random stuff like that, on the on the cholinergic system, which is what nicotine affects, on the serotonin system, on the dopamine system, just off the top of my head, all these different system videos, they're super informative. And this is one of the things that kind of overlaps with these other, like serotonin and dopamine, because it's general brain function. I'll read the description of what cerebrolysin is, and then we'll get into the 1% of his video that I actually retained and can regurgitate for you guys. Cerebrolysin is a mix of enzymatically treated peptides derived from pig brains. Now, hold on a second before you go. A lot of things are taken from pig brains, all right? It's okay to eat them, I think. Its constituents can include neuropeptides that are similar to fragments of natural nootropic factors, NTF. For example, ciliary neurotrophic factor, CNTF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, glial cells-derived neurotrophic factor, GDNF, which I knew any of what these words mean, nerve growth factor, NGF, and insulin-like growth factor, IGF. Cerebrolysin has been studied. Here's the real important part. It has been studied for potential use in a wide variety of neurodegenerative disorders. It can be beneficial in the treatment of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, stroke, and traumatic brain injury. Ding, 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 ding. When I hear traumatic brain injury, my eyes light up. Now, the thing behind my eyes, my brain, doesn't really light up because of the traumatic brain injuries that I've had. But hopefully after taking some cerebrolysin, that will change it. So my understanding... and if you Google cerebrolysin, Leo and Longevity, the title of the video is something like "Changing My Brain with, peptides or pig brains" or something like that. A sort of clickbait title, but this stuff is very serious. It basically promotes the growth of neurons in your brain. It reduces general inflammation, and it's used in things like somebody has a stroke and they immediately give a high dose of cerebrolysin, and it seems to be neuroprotective, right? If you have traumatic brain injuries, and Leo's kind of like, why isn't this stuff given to MMA fighters after a fight? Because it can both protect your brain and actually lead to a growth of your brain. There's he goes through a variety of studies in both animals and humans and makes sure to delineate those two things, because it doesn't always overlap. Just because something happens in a rat doesn't mean that it's going to happen in a human. And there might be more limited capacity for actually looking at, a human's brain. You can't just kill the people at the end of the study and look inside their brain. You could, but that's more of a Nazi Germany thing. It's
super frowned upon.
It's like, can we just... We're competing with China, and we still can't murder civilians and put them in a museum, as a...
Thanks, Biden.
Thanks, Biden. That's a reference to What's that thing? Bodies in Motion, and it's all like Chinese political prisoners, as the bodies. Puts a little. I'm glad I didn't know that going into it, but you find out afterwards. You're like, oh, that's pretty dark, huh? So this stuff, I'm actually about to order it for myself. So if you walk in on me and I'm just doing math equations on the chalkboard in the hallway of some prestigious university, don't get mad that I'm the next Matt Damon. Just say, oh, this cerebral license finally kicking in, dude. Look at that. And if I come in one day and it's like, whoa, dude, like this, like my hat is suddenly like way tighter. It's like, oh, because his brain's growing. It does apparently cause brain growth. And I'm not going to say it increases your IQ, but I read certain things like it increases your working memory and your ability to recall things. Well, that's sort of like these elements of IQ. It can potentially reduce anxiety, and that's what Leo was actually taking it for, and describes some debilitating social anxiety amongst other things that the cerebrolysin seemingly cure, because some of these things, like when you look into, what is the purpose of SSRIs, part of it that takes a while, but, is ultimately what you're looking for is neurogenesis. It should make you create new neurons. And that's apparently something that cerebrolysin does very well. And the side effect profile is very safe. So that's most of what I want to say about it, because I want to look into it more and kind of, I'll guide you in the right direction. I'll go, hey, you want to hear about all the studies and all the ways in which it shows a lot of promise just for doing. Like you have to study it in really specific ways. It's like, let's compare the motor function, after a month of use in between stroke victims or something like that. It has to be hyper specific. You can't just be like, does this make you smarter or not? Or, that's a more difficult, test to implement, I would assume. But I'm interested to try it. And even Vigorous Steve had a video that I just watched where he was talking about taking cerebrolysin just for central nervous system recovery after strenuous workouts. Because I don't know if you know this, but like when you have a strenuous workout, like let's say you do a crazy leg day, that affects your entire body and your brain. Are you going to be at your sharpest after doing 30 hard sets of legs? Probably not. You're going to be very physically exhausted, but also mentally exhausted. And that's, part of like overtraining or feeling beat down when you've done a lot of heavy days in a row is this central nervous system, central nervous system fatigue, which all starts in your brain. And he said his central nervous system fatigue or recovery was enhanced tremendously with that. So another sort of anecdotal evidence point that this stuff does have an effect on your brain. I'm ordering it from Cosmic Nootropics. The dosing can be like 2 milliliters to, if you're a stroke victim, they set up to like 60, so 5 milliliters in a syringe is the most that you can probably get online, and you can, inject it intramuscularly or intravenously. I'm far too much of a pussy to intravenously inject anything on my own. I'd have to hit up my local phlebotomist for that, but I will be trying it in the near future, and so just don't be surprised if I come back with the receipts and it's like, oh, he's got a 3,000 IQ. Like, sorry, I told you, but now I bought all the cerebrolysin on planet Earth.